Hello, sibling rivalry, whether it's endless rows over which children's programmes they're going to watch or burning feuds over the family will. That's going to be our phone-in tomorrow for battling brothers and sisters everywhere. There's a dangerous liaison over coffee with Hollywood hung John Malkovich and music from Soul to Soul. So join us tomorrow at 10:30. See you then.
This Saturday on Granada, a new murder mystery for Wexford.
We found this lipstick at the edge of the wood.
She didn't kill herself.
I want to find the owner of that lipstick.
Maybe you think I did it.
Whoever struck this match wanted to make sure that he had left nothing incriminating.
Well, take these bloody things off now!
Someone must have found my lipstick in the cinema and dropped it wherever you found it.
Can't you understand? We kept ourselves to ourselves.
The Ruth Rendell Mystery Movie, Saturday, 7:50 on Granada.
Good afternoon. Police have warned women motorists to be extra vigilant after a gang of rapists attacked 2 women in a lay-by. 3 men flagged them down near Whipsnade in Bedfordshire, claiming there was something wrong with their car.
The 2 women were flagged down in broad daylight while they were on their way to a shopping trip. A van stopped at this junction and the men inside told the women there was a problem with their exhaust and offered to help. They led the women to this access road where they pulled them into the van. 2 of the men raped them then, while a 3rd looked on. The 2 women were left here at the roadside, too shocked to report the incident. It wasn't until one of them told her GP what had happened yesterday that the matter was reported to the police. They're now appealing to the 2nd woman to come forward. At the incident room at Dunstable Police Station, detectives are now looking for 1 man in his late 20s and 2 in their 40s. All 3 are white.
If a similar occurrence occurs, if somebody tries to flag them down for whatever reason, our advice is don't stop.
Local people say they're horrified that such an attack could have happened to 2 young mothers in the middle of the afternoon, just yards from a busy road on a quiet English lane.
The coroner has ruled that 2-year-old Lucinda Richardson, who choked to death when her head was trapped in the electric window of her family car, died accidentally. Her father renewed his appeal for car manufacturers to fit sensors to electric windows. A babysitter has been sent to prison for life for starting a fire which killed 2 young children in her care. June Leaning denied murdering 5-year-old Simon Graham and his 2-year-old sister Lucy, but she pleaded guilty to 2 charges of manslaughter and 5 counts of arson. The Prime Minister has arrived in Rio de Janeiro for the final stages of the Earth Summit. Mr. Major said Britain had new initiatives to offer on the environment.
There are a lot of discussions going on in a whole range of fora today, on forestry, on climate change, on biodiversity, and we must see how the negotiators get on. But it isn't just a straight question of 1 or 2 countries. There are many countries with difficult and complex matters. I suspect much of the publicity is centred, of course, on the United States, but it is, in truth, a good deal wider than that.
President Bush is on his way to Rio. As he left, he repeated that the United States would not sign the Biodiversity Treaty to protect plants and animals.
I will stand up for American interests and the interests of a cleaner environment. And if the United States has to be the only nation to stand against the Biodiversity Treaty as now drawn, so be it.
4-year-old Laura Davies has regained consciousness in intensive care in the United States after her liver and bowel transplant. The operation took surgeons at the Pittsburgh Children's Hospital nearly 16 hours.
This morning, Laura remains critical in intensive care following her highly successful 15-and-a-half-hour operation. Her surgeons are particularly delighted that the new organs began functioning immediately.
The surgery went very well. The organs are good. The operation was somewhat difficult because of some previous surgeries that she had had. However, there were no problems incurred with the procedure. The old liver came out without any significant difficulty. The new organs are working very well.
All now depends on the experimental immunosuppressant drug FK506, which has been developed to stop the body rejecting newly transplanted organs. The next 2 to 3 days will be the most critical, but doctors here say the signs so far are very good. Glenn O'Glaser, ITN, Pittsburgh.
Here, police have appealed for witnesses after last night's bomb explosion in London near the House of Commons. It went off around midnight as MPs were leaving Parliament. No one was injured. The immediate area of the explosion in Victoria Street is still sealed off. The Commons had just renewed emergency legal powers in Northern Ireland. Nearly 1,000 past and present British Olympic competitors have gathered near Manchester to boost the city's bid to host the Games. Later today, they'll be taking part in a salute before Princess Anne, the British Olympic Association's president. Those are the headlines this afternoon. Carol Barnes will be here with ITN's early evening news, but from me, good afternoon.
This is Granada with an update now on the Northwest News.
Good afternoon, the latest news. Princess Diana, overcome by the warmth of her Merseyside reception, broke down and wept today as she left Southport. It was her first official engagement since reports of her alleged suicide attempts. After the opening of her hospice and to walk about among cheering crowds, the princess entered her limousine in tears. Bob Smithers reports.
The princess could not have had a warmer reception when she came to Southport to open the Queen's Court Hospice. She looked cool in a cornflower blue outfit, but her face was pale and more than usually somber. Outside the hospice, a pack of over 50 non-accredited photographers and reporters were confined behind metal barriers and warned against making any approach. Inside, calm and self-possessed, Princess Diana toured the hospice, chatted to the patients, and unveiled the traditional plaque to applause. But the kindness and understanding she met in there, and among the happy crowds outside the hospice, brought high emotion. The princess smiled. But then, as she left and got into the limousine, came the tears. She'd come and she'd conquered, but it was all too much. She turned red, turned her head, and burst into tears.
And the Princess Royal is also visiting the region. Princess Anne is here in her role as President of the British Olympic Committee. Earlier today, she attended a special gathering of Olympic medalists at Mottram Hall Hotel near Wilmslow in Cheshire. This afternoon, she's carrying out further engagements in Manchester before attending a gala dinner for former Olympic competitors at the GMEX Centre. Other news, and 4-year-old Laura Davies is now conscious as she recovers from a life-saving operation in the United States. Laura from Eccles in Manchester is breathing with the help of a respirator after her operation. Her parents have been allowed to see her briefly. Tim Wyatt reports.
A team of surgeons carried out Laura's life-saving operation at Pittsburgh Children's Hospital. As expected, she remains in a critical condition, but doctors say the pioneering surgery went well despite some difficulties.
The surgery went very well. The organs are good. The operation was somewhat difficult because of some previous surgeries that she had had. However, there were no problems incurred with the procedure. The old liver came out without any significant difficulty. The new organs are working very well.
In Manchester, the Laura Davies appeal organiser has been giving well-wishers the latest news.
Well, she's all right at the moment. You know, she's holding her own at the moment. We're just waiting for the outcome.
Laura's parents are due back at the hospital soon, knowing the next 3 days will be the most critical.
Detectives on Merseyside have launched a murder inquiry after a man was found battered to death on his birthday. A milkman calling to his home in Avon Street in Birkenhead found the body of David Edwards, who was 50. A post-mortem has revealed he died from multiple injuries. 3 people, including a teenage boy, are being questioned by police. 350 jobs are to go at the Heinz factory in Wigan. The company says the jobs will be phased out over the next year. Heinz says the cuts are a part of a streamlining process at the plant. British Aerospace has announced it's to cut more jobs at its Dynamics plant in Bolton. More than 100 jobs are to go from September. The company hopes reductions will be made by people taking early retirement or voluntary redundancy. Alison Tarpey has this report.
British Aerospace says 150 jobs are to go at its Dynamics plant at Lostock in Bolton. The company blames the cutbacks on a lack of orders resulting from the government reducing its defence budget. As from September, more than 700 people will lose their jobs at plants throughout the country. British Aerospace says it hopes to avoid compulsory redundancy and is encouraging people to take early retirement or volunteer to leave. It's another blow for workers in the Northwest defence industry. 4,000 people have already lost their jobs in the last 6 months, with the threat of further job cuts if Germany pulls out of the European fighter aircraft programme, a project employing thousands of people at the Wharton plant near Preston.
That's all from me on Granada News. In Granada tonight, with full coverage of those royal visits, Princess Diana in Southport and the Princess Royal in Cheshire and Greater Manchester, and all the latest news of Laura Davies following her transplant operation, plus the launch of the Liverpool Festival of Comedy. Join us then.
Tonight at 7:30, the life of a hired ball gown.
Me? I'm a 12, well, 14 at a squeeze. That's why I'm the most popular dress. But that has its drawbacks. This last week's been murder. Still, this is definitely my kind of do. Sunshine, champagne, and pots of loot. Now, I'm a works do specialist, but something told me that this was going to be a little more upmarket. Well, we are talking Cheshire after all.
A dress called Wonder. This England. Tonight at 7:30 on Granada.
Medical drama now on Granada with the young doctors of the Albert Memorial.